जय यशोदानंदन जय व्रजजन रंजना जय यशोदानंदन जय व्रजजन रंजना जय यशोदानंदन जय व्रजजन रंजना जय यमुना तिरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय राधा माधव की जय जगन्नाथ पद की जय नरसिंह भगवान की जय पंच तत्व की जय षड गोस्वामी की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय श्री भगवान की जय श्री गुरुदेव की जय इनका गौर हरि को ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Narishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So Hare Krishna, Prabhu's Matajis, welcome all of you and thank you for joining. So today we'll be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, this third canto, 31st chapter and verse number 41. Just share the screen. या मन्यते पतिं मोहान् मन्मायां वृषभायतीम् स्त्रीत्वं श्रीसङ्गतः प्राप्तो वित्तापत्यग्रहप्रदम्. Yam manyate patim mohan manmayam vrishabhayatim Stritvam Sri Sangatha Prapto Vittapatyagraha Pradam Yam Manyate Patim Mohan Manmayam Vrishabhayatim Stritvam Sri Sangatha Prapto Vittapatyagraha Pradam. Anybody wants to recite?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I?
Yes, please.
Yam manyate patim mohan manmayam vrishabhayatim stritvam stri sangatha prapto vittapatya gruha pradam. Hare Krishna, dhanyavad.
Anybody else? One more? One more? Can I also recite?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yam manyate patim mohan manmaya mrishabhayati vitvam sri sangatah prapto vittap atyagraha pradam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madam Krishna. Word to word meaning. Synonyms. Yam, which. Manyate, she thinks. Patim, her husband. Mohat, due to illusion. Mat maya, my maya. Rishabha, in the form of a man. Ayatim, coming. Stritvam, the state of being a woman. Sri Sangataha, attachment to a woman. Praptaha, obtained, with the wealth. Apatya, progeny. Graha, house. Pradam, bestowing. Translation purport is Divine Shilpapad ki jai. Please hear the translation purport. The living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. Purport. From this verse, it appears that a woman is also supposed to have been a man in his or her previous life, and due to his attachment to his wife, he now has the body of a woman. Bhagavad Gita confirms this. A man gets his next life's birth according to what he thinks of at the time of death. If someone is too attached to his wife, naturally he thinks of his wife at the time of death. And in his next life, he takes the body of a woman. Similarly, if a woman thinks of her husband at the time of death, naturally she gets the body of a man in the next life. In the Hindu scriptures, therefore, woman's chastity and devotion to man is greatly emphasized. A woman's attachment to her husband may elevate her to the body of a man in her next life. But a man's attachment to a woman will degrade him, and in his next life, he will get the body of a woman. We should always remember, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, that both the gross and subtle material bodies are dresses. They are the shirt and coat of the living entity. To be either a woman or a man only involves one's bodily dress. The soul in nature is actually the marginal energy of Supreme Lord. Every living entity, being classified as energy, is supposed to be originally a woman or one who is enjoyed. In the body of a man, there is a greater opportunity to get out of the material clutches. There is less opportunity in the body of a woman. In this verse, it is indicated that the body of a man should not be misused through forming an attachment to women and thus becoming too entangled in material enjoyment, which will result in getting the body of a woman in the next life. A woman is generally fond of household prosperity, ornaments, furniture, and dresses. She is satisfied when the husband supplies all these things sufficiently. The relationship between man and woman is very complicated. But the substance is that one who aspires to ascend to the transcendental stage of spiritual realization should be very careful in accepting the association of a woman. In the stage of Krishna consciousness, however, such restriction of association may be slackened because if a man's and woman's attachment is not to each other but to Krishna, then both of them are equally eligible to get out of the material entanglement and reach the abode of Krishna. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who seriously takes to Krishna consciousness, whether in the lowest species of life or a woman, or of the less intelligent classes, such as the mercantile labor class, will go back home, back to Godhead, and reach the abode of Krishna. A man should not be attached to a woman, nor should a woman be attached to a man. Both man and woman should be attached to the service of the Lord. Then there is a possibility of liberation from material entanglement for both of them. Jai Shri Prabhupada's transcendental purport ki jai. Om Gyantamrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagananita Shri Vishakavatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mamvacha Imam Prasuptam Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Dharasvadhamnam Anyam Sahasta Charana Shravana Togadin Prana Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Kum Karoti Vacharam Pangam Lagit Namo Vishnu 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 So before I start, there's a very beautiful verse which we should always recite at any stage of life. Just share that verse and you can have a look at it. This is the verse. It is from 589. Swastyastu Vishwasya Khala Prasidata Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodya Manascha Bhadram Bhajata Dadukshaje Aveshatamno Matirapyahaituki. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence Lord Shri Krishna and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. It's very Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they are the scriptures. It's not that what we want to hear. Want to hear means what we what we like. If it doesn't like, then we ignore. So it is like taking something, like no, rejecting other things. No, it is not like that. Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita are that such wonderful scriptures, and these scriptures are that you must hear. It's not what you want to eat, you must hear. It is a fact. It is so you should have the 100% faith. So this chapter is entitled Lord Kapila's instructions on movements of the living entities. See, in Kali Yuga, association with women is very strong. See, in every step of life, there is association with women. Now, if a person goes to purchase something, advertisements are full of pictures of women. You might have noticed, right? So, the physiological attraction for women is very great. And therefore, people are very, very slack in spiritual understanding. The Vedic civilization, though, being based on spiritual understanding, it arranges association with women very cautiously. Out of the 4 social divisions, namely Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha. So this out of the 4, Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa are strictly prohibited from female association. Only in the order of the householder, Grihasthashram, there is license to mix with women under restricted conditions. That means attraction of women's association is the cause of the material conditional life. And anyone interested in being freed from this conditional life must detach himself from the association of women. See, out of the 4 social divisions, right? Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, and We said that it's only our grihasthas are given license to have an intimate relationship with a woman, and that relationship is also restricted for begetting nice children. Now, if, however, one wants to stick to continued existence in the material world, no, he may indulge in female association unrestricted. So, therefore, now in this verse, 41st verse, which just now saw, it is indicated that the body of a man should not be misused through forming an attachment to women and thereby becoming entangled, too much entangled in material enjoyment, right? And what will happen, which will result in getting the body of a woman in the next life. So it said in the verse we saw that relation between man and woman is very complicated, right? But the substance, Prabhupada says that one who aspires to come to the transitional stage, spiritual realization, they should be very careful in accepting the association of women. Therefore, he says, in the stage of Krishna consciousness, such restrictions of association may be slackened. Because if a man and woman's attachment not to each other, because in this Krishna is not to each other but to Krishna, then both of them are equally eligible to get out of mental entanglement and reach the abode of Krishna. That's what is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, right? Anyone who seriously takes to Krishna consciousness, right, he is confirmed, guaranteed that he will go back to God and reach the abode of Krishna. So Prabhupada says, right in the last para, a man should not be attached to a woman, nor should a woman to be attached to a man. Both man and woman should be attached to the service of the Lord. This is very important. Then there is a possibility of liberation from mental entanglement for both of them. See, some always rascals, some of them have their own theory that after this body, everything is finished, zero. But that is not the case. It is not finished. See, there are so many species of life we have to enter in any one of them, right? And this human form of life is an opportunity to get out of the clutches of Maya. That is this repetition of birth and death. So anyone can go back home, back to Godhead and become eternal associate of the Lord. So that is the opportunity in this human form of life. See, in one of the classes, Srila Prabhupada, he says, our women are taught to become very chaste. He said, our women are taught to become very chaste. Why? That is a process to give her a chance to become a male in the next life. See, a woman, if she's educated to become chaste, attached to the husband, then naturally at the time of death, she will think of the man and she gets immediately promotion. That is promotion. Similarly, if a man is very much attached to his wife, he will think of a woman and he becomes a woman the next life. But that in the property says that is not viable. So this is a science, Prabhupada says. So where is this cultivation of this science? That a woman has to be taught to become chaste. You should understand the woman is not a Kama Patni, she is a Dharma Patni. That is to support in all the spiritual activities. That is the point to be understood. See, the 5th canto, 18th chapter, 19th verse, purport, Prabhupada says, Lakshmi Devi shows compassion towards women who worship the Lord for the benediction of possessing a good husband. Although, see, Prabhupada says, although such women desire to be happy with children, wealth, a long duration of life, and everything dear to them, they cannot possibly do so. Because in the material world, a so-called husband is dependent on the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, there are many examples of a woman whose husband being dependent on the result of his own fruitive actions, right? He cannot maintain his life, his wife, children, wealth, or even the duration of life, right? He's not under his control. So actually, the only real husband of all women is Krishna, the supreme husband. See, you can see gopis were liberated souls. They understood this fact. Therefore, they rejected their material husbands and accepted Krishna as their real husband. So Krishna is the real husband not only of the gopis, but for every living entity. Everyone should perfectly understand that Krishna is the real husband of all living entities. And who are described in Bhagavad Gita as Prakriti, female, not Purusha, male, Prakriti, female. In Bhagavad Gita 10.12, Krishna is addressed as Purusha. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Majam Vibhum. So Arjuna is telling, you are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the Supreme Abode and Purifier, absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, the transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. So Krishna is the original Purusha, and the living entities are Prakriti. So Krishna is the enjoyer, and all living entities are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. Therefore, any woman who seeks a material husband for her protection, or any man who desires to become the husband of a woman, is under illusion. To become a husband means to maintain a wife and children nicely by supplying wealth and security. However, a material husband cannot possibly do this, for he is dependent on his karma, right? Karmana daiva netrena. His circumstances are determined by his past fruitful activities. So therefore, if one proudly thinks he can protect his wife, he is under illusion, his family, because Krishna is the only husband. Therefore, the relationship between husband and wife is in this middle world cannot be absolute. Because we have the desire to marry, Krishna mercifully allows the so-called husband to possess a wife and the wife to possess a so-called husband for mutual satisfaction. In the Ishopanishad it is said, Tena taktena bhunjita. The Lord provides everyone with his quota. Actually, every living entity is Prakriti, female, and Krishna is the only husband. See, the purport of Bhagavatam 4:3-9, Prabhupada says, it is a woman's nature to want to decorate herself with ornaments and nice dresses and accompany her husband to social functions, meet friends and relatives, and enjoy life in that way. You can just very much relate with these things, right? So this propensity is not unusual. For woman is the basic principle of material enjoyment. Therefore, in Sanskrit, the word for woman is stri. Stri, which means one who expands the field of material enjoyment. So in the material world, there is an attraction between man and woman. This is the arrangement of conditional life. A woman attracts a man, and in that way, the scope of material activities involves house, wealth, children, and friendship. And it increases. And instead of decreasing one's material demands, one becomes entangled in the material enjoyment. And even the purport of 4:23-20, Prabhupada says that the word Bhartur Vrata Dharma Nishaya indicates that a woman's duty or religious principle is to serve her husband in all conditions. You know, in Vedic civilization, a man is taught from the beginning of his life to become a brahmachari, then an ideal grahastha, then manaprastha, then sannyasi. And the wife is taught just to follow the husband strictly in all conditions of life. You know, after the period of brahmacharya, man accepts a householder's life, right? And the woman is also taught by her parents to be a chaste wife. So when a girl and boy are united, both are trained for a life dedicated to a higher purpose. The boy is trained to execute his duty in accordance with the higher purpose of life, and the girl is trained to follow him. So the chaste wife's duty is to keep her husband pleased in household life in all respects. That's why in one of the classes, Srila Prabhupada, he says, the instruction of Krishna to Arjuna, Ma Manusmara, in 8.7 Bhagavad Gita, Ma Manusmara, he says to Arjuna, he says, you just remember me. And Lord Chaitanya's instruction that you chant always the name of Krishna. So Krishna says, you always remember me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you always chant me, chant the name of Krishna. There is no difference. Because Krishna and Krishna's name are not different in the absolute. So in the absolute status, there is no difference between one thing to another, right? So the Lord being absolute, there is no difference between his name and himself. So we have to practice like that. Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu. Always. 24 hours, we have to mold our activities of life in such a way that we can remember Krishna. 24 hours. How it is possible? Yes, Prabhupada says it is possible. And Prabhupada gave a very crude example. He says, very crude said by Acharyas in this connection. And what is that example? It is said that a woman who is attached to another man, although she has got a husband, still she is attached to another man. And this sort of attachment becomes very strong. And this is called Parakiya Rasa, either in case of man or woman. If a man has got attachment for another woman besides his wife, or a woman has got attachment for another man besides her husband, that attachment is very strong. So the Acharyas give this example. They say, as a bad character woman who has got attachment for other's husband, she always thinks at the same time, shows her husband that she is very much busy in the family affairs so that her husband may not doubt her character. So she's always remembering the time of meeting with her lover at night, in spite of doing all the household work very nicely. Similarly, one has to remember the Supreme Husband, Sri Krishna, always, in spite of doing his material duties very nicely. That is possible. The husband is material. So it requires a strong sense of love. Just for the example, no? A strong sense of love, Krishna, who is the Supreme Husband. So when you have got a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then it is possible that we can go on discharging our duty at the same time remember Krishna. So we have to develop that sense. Just like Arjuna, he was always thinking of Krishna. 24 hours, not for a second he could forget Krishna. Constant companion of Krishna. At the same time, a warrior. See, Krishna did not advise Arjuna to give up his fighting. Okay. Go to the forest, go to Himalayas and meditate. See, when the yoga system was advised to Arjuna, Arjuna declined. He said, this system is not possible for me. Then Krishna said, Yoginam api sarvesham. But he said 6.47. He said, of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So one of the things of the Supreme Lord always, he is the greatest yogi. He is the supermost Jnani and he is also the greatest devotee at the same time. That's what Krishna says in 6.47. So Krishna advises that Tasmat Sarvesh Kaleshu Ma Manusmara Yudhyacha. As a Kshatriya, you cannot give up your fighting business. You have to fight. So at the same time, if you practice remember me always, then it will be possible. Anta Kalechi Mam Eva Smaran, 8.5 Bhagavad Gita says, then it will be possible to remember me also at the time of death. And he says, Krishna says at the end, whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. So he says, oh Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Ajamila, he thought, my whole life was full of sinful activities. So how could I be worthy of seeing such great personalities as Vishnudutas? So he concluded himself. He said, perhaps in my previous life I did something good. And as a result, I have been allowed to see the Vishnudutas. In fact, early in life, Ajamila, he had been a very faithful servant of Lord Narayana. And as a result, he was able to see Vishnudutas. See, it was a good association, right? Ajamila had been blessed with, in his early days, that saved him. At Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 22.54 says, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Kaya, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Haya. So the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. So in the beginning of his life, Ajamila, he was certainly very pure. And he associated with devotees and brahmanas. And because of that pious activity, even though he was fallen, he was inspired to name his son Narayana. See, he was inspired to name it. See, Certainly, this was due to a good counsel given from within by the Supreme Lord. See, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto mata smritirjnanam apohanam cha. He says, I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So Krishna is so kind that even if one has ever rendered service to him, the Lord never forgets him. So Lord from within, he gave Ajamila the inspiration to name his youngest son Narayana. So that in affection he could constantly call Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. And thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of his death. So nowadays, that inspiration not coming because you're not hearing the Paramatma. You might be telling, name your child this way, this name, this name, this name. But we give so many other names, right? And which by chanting those names, it doesn't benefit. So it's all coming from the scriptures. So such is the mercy of Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasada Paya Bhakti Lata Bicha. So by the mercy of the Guru and Krishna, one receives the seed of bhakti, devotional service. So watering this seed by the process of hearing and chanting, Shravanam and Kirtanam, the name of the Lord saves the devotee from the greatest fear. Rupa says, in our Krishna conscious movement, we therefore change a devotee's name to one that reminds him of Vishnu. See, by the time of death, the devotee can remember his own name, such as Krishna Dasa or Govinda Dasa. He can be saved from the greatest danger. So the change of names at the time of initiation is essential. Prabhupada mentions in his book, A Second Chance. So it is essential. The Krishna conscious movement is so meticulous that it gives one a good opportunity to remember Krishna somehow or the other. So remembrance of Krishna at the time of death is generally possible only for persons who have established an intimate relationship with Krishna throughout a lifetime of devotional service. So when Ajamila was a young boy, he was trained by his father to be completely faithful to the Lord. And until the age of 20, he served Lord Narayana very nicely. Although Ajamila had fallen down from the standard of devotional service and forgotten his relationship with Narayana, but in his hour of need, he reciprocated his devotional service, love. Ajamila was given the presence of mind to remember Narayana at the time of death, although he was calling his son's name. So Krishna takes it. So Krishna is very appreciative of even a small amount of devotional service. And he confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 2.4. He says, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. Little advancement on this path protects one from the most fearful type of danger. So if a person practices even a small amount of devotional service, it can save him from the greatest danger. So why not take to Krishna consciousness? Engage in devotional service always, 24 hours a day. Then there is no question of danger. Becoming a woman the next life or a man. So one who has become Krishna conscious is fearless. He knows he is under the protection of Krishna. You know, Gandhari, Prabhupada says in one of his lectures, Gandhari, she has been described as tapasvini. She wanted to be faithful, a faithful, chaste wife. So he was. So Dhritarashtra was blind. So she also closed her eyes, right? So what is the result? If a woman becomes faithful, chaste wife, then the next life there is chance of her becoming a male. Because according to Vedic literature, to take birth as woman is low grade. Striya Shudras Tata Vaishya ye api Syu Papa Yonaya. 9.32 Bhagavad Gita says. See, there are higher grade and lower grade births. So according to Vedic understanding, woman, the body of woman is lower grade birth. Therefore, if she is fortunate to have a good husband, devotee, and if she becomes faithful to that husband, then her life is successful. That is called tapasya. In 4:25:30, Rupa says, everyone has lusty desires within. And as soon as one is agitated by the movement of a beautiful woman's eyebrows, the Cupid within immediately throws his arrow at the heart. One is quickly conquered by this. So when one is agitated by the lusty desires, his senses are attracted by all kinds of Vishaya. enjoyable things, right? Like sound, touch, form, smell, and taste. So these attractive sense objects oblige one to come under the control of a woman. In this way, the conditioned life of living entity begins. Conditioned life means being under the control of a woman. And certainly, the living entity is always at the mercy of a woman or a man. So living entities live in bondage to one another. And they continue this conditioned material life, illusion, Maya. See, just now we saw the sense objects, right? Sound, touch, form, smell, and taste. Actually, the sense objects are the traps. They trap you. So we have to get rid of this. Like Shabda, sound, Sparsha, touch, Rupa, form, Rasa, taste, and Gandha, smell. So these are the five sense objects, right, corresponding to the five great elements. Okay. Let us see one by one. The trap of the smell, Prithvi. See, earth has smell, right? Gandha. But most part of the earth is now artificially covered with the road, tar, cement. So you can't have pure smell. See, those days, especially in villages when agriculture was there, after the summer season, if there is the first rain, you smell the earth. The smell is very pleasing. All of you might have experienced this, right? But smell, if it is used in a gross way, then it is a trap. It is a very, very obnoxious trap. See, by smell, they are caught up. Example of the trap of smell is the drummer, bumblebee. See, the bee goes to a beautiful flower where there is a nice smell, enters into the petals, enters the petals of the flower, right? And it's very busy sucking because of the smell. At night, certain flowers close. So it is trapped inside. So this is how it is using Gandha for its own sense gratification. That is why it is trapped in it. So this is what happens to us also. We are attracted to the smell very much and we are trapped unknowingly. The second is the trap of touch. See, by touch also we are trapped. Elephant runs after the she elephant for sparsh or touch. And we are also not very much elevated than the elephant. We are also trying to run after touch. See, we want to sit on a cushion so that we will be comfortable. This is a touch sensation. We cannot sit on the ground, which is hard. And the more we sit on the sofa sets, this or that, we catch arthritis, we can't sit down, we can't get up. We get trapped because of this touch. We have all the sets, sofa set, tea set, everything, but ultimately we're all upset. So those who want to catch the elephant, which is a rare species now, they use the she elephant. So the fellow, that is the elephant is attached to the she elephant, and the she elephant is trained to run around the trap. And this elephant is completely kama anda, blinded by the sense gratification desire. So he runs out of the she elephant and falls into the ditch, which is especially prepared to trap the elephant. So this is called sparsha sensation, traps you. Third is the trap of sound. To kill the deer, they play the flute. And by the sweet music sound, they're attracted. And as soon as they come, they're shot dead or whatever it is. This is how, because of sound, they lose their life. If you hear the Mahamantra or Bhajan or Srimad Bhagavatam, you feel refreshed. Whereas you go to the other side, you're completely trapped. The fourth is the trap of form. The moth, it throws itself into the flame, attracted by the flame of fire. That is how we also run after the rupa or form. You see beautiful things and you want to die for it. This is moth tendency. Again and again, the moth is burnt. Even then, till it is alive, it will throw itself into the fire till it dies. This is rupa. So instead of that falling into the flame or whatever it is, it's better to enjoy the rupa of Krishna. He's the most beautiful person. So rupa has got to be transferred from this to Krishna. And the fifth one is the trap of taste. The fish is caught by the taste. It wants to taste the bait on the hook and it's very sharp. As soon as the fish goes to taste it, he is caught up. how much pain he must be undergoing. So this is how, because they are attracted to the taste, they are caught up in the hook. So these are 5 traps of sense objects. So how is the way to get out of this trap of the moods? See, the 5 sense objects trap us. And this moth or bee or elephant or deer or fish, they have only one attraction. One of these, right? They're only attracted to smell or sound, or they are only attracted to taste or form or touch, right? But we are all attracted to all these 5. So what chance do we have? We are in a completely diseased position. So this is the main thing to be understood. See, for these 5, we're just working like a donkey. So this is our tragedy and mockery of the human existence of life. So far we have done Janma after Janma. So in this life also we are running the same thing, and there is no way to come out of the riches, passion. So Prabhupada quotes in the purport, one can get released from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. And it is further comprehended here in that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, sattva, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. But if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of tamas, can gradually rise to the sattva platform by expert direction of the spiritual master. See, a sincere candidate must therefore approach an expert spiritual master for such a progressive march, right? And the bona fide expert spiritual master is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, tamas, rajas, or sattva. This is what we are. See, in 558, Prabhupada says the attraction between male and female is a basic principle of material existence. So, on the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Prabhupada says, sex serves as the natural attraction between man and woman. And when they are married, the relationship becomes more involved. So, due to the entangling relationship between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks, this man is my husband or this woman is my wife. And this is, Prabhupada said, this is called Hridaya Granthi, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo. Even though man and woman are separate either for the principle of varnashrama or simply to get a divorce. See, in any case, the man always thinks of the woman and the woman always thinks of the man. So a person becomes materially attached to family, property, and children, although all these are temporary. See, the possessor unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Okay. Sometimes even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi, right? But such attachment is not as strong as the family attachment. Attachment to the family is the strongest illusion. In the Satya Samhita, it is stated, Prabhupada says in the purport, sometimes it is found among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma that the wife and children are not a cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps further spiritual life and liberation. But most people are bound by the knots of marital relationship and they forget the relationship with Krishna. A woman, therefore, should consider her husband, her house, and her children to be the arrangement of the external energy of the Lord. See, the instructions of Kapil Deva is explained that not only is woman the gateway to hell for man, but man is also the gateway to hell for woman. It is a question of attachment. A man becomes attached to woman because of her service, her beauty, and many other assets. And similarly, woman becomes attached to a man for his giving her a nice place to live, ornaments, dress, and children. It is a question of attachment for one another. As long as either is attached to the other for such material enjoyment, the woman is dangerous for the man, the man is also dangerous for the woman. But the attachment is transferred to Krishna. Both of them become Krishna conscious, and then marriage is very nice. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends man and woman should live together as householders in relationship with Krishna, only for the purpose of discharging duties in the service of Krishna. It is in Bhakti Rasamrita 1, 2, 255, it says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjatah Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Muchyate. So engage the children, engage the wife, and engage the husband, all in Krishna consciousness duties. And then all these bodily or material attachments will disappear. Because the medium is Krishna. The consciousness is pure. There is no possibility of degradation at any time. See, very powerful in the fifth canto, 26th chapter, 20th purport, translation purport. Prabhupada says, see, a man and woman who indulges in sex with an unworthy member of the opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Amaraja in the hell known as Tapta Surmi. There, such men and women are beaten with whips. Man is forced to embrace a red-hot iron form of a woman. And the woman is forced to embrace a similar form of a man. Such is the punishment for illicit sex. Generally, a man should not have sexual relations with any woman other than his wife. According to Vedic principles, the wife of another man is considered one's mother. And sex are forbidden with another's mother, sister, and daughter. Prabhupada says in the purport. So if one indulges in illicit sexual relations with another man's wife, that activity is considered identical with having sex with one's mother. Very powerful symptom. This act is most sinful. The same principle holds for a woman also. If she enjoys sex with a man other than her husband, the act is tantamount to having sexual relations with her father or son. Illicit sex love is always forbidden. Any man or woman who indulges in it is punished in the manner as is given here, as in the hellish planet. So, 428:19 purport says, a wife is always supposed to be submissive to her husband. Submission, mild behavior, and subservience are qualities in a wife which makes a husband very thoughtful of her. So, for family life, it is very good for a husband to be attached to his wife, but it is not very good for spiritual advancement. Therefore, Krishna consciousness must be established in every home. If a husband and wife are very much attached to one another in Krishna consciousness, they will both benefit because Krishna is the center of their existence. Very nice point. In 428:19 Prabhupada said, thus Krishna consciousness must be established in every home. If a husband and wife are very much attached to one another in Krishna consciousness, they will both benefit because Krishna is the center of their existence. Otherwise, if the husband is too much attached to his wife, he becomes a woman in his next life. The woman being overly attached to her husband becomes a man in the next life. Of course, it is an advantage for a woman to become a man, but it's not at all advantageous for the man to become a woman. See, very important point, how a spiritual master is not different from the super soul situated in everyone's heart. That's why Bhagavatam 4:28-52, very beautiful verse. Brahmana Vacha, Katvam Kashyasi Ko Vayam Shayano Yasya Shochasi Janasi Kim Sat Thakaya Mam Yenagre Vichachartaha. The Brahmana inquired as follows: who are you? Whose wife or daughter are you? Who is the man lying here? It appears you are lamenting for this dead body. Don't you recognize me? I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. This verse is spoken to Queen Puranjani on the death of her husband, King Malayadhwaja, by the Brahman friend called Avigyata. See, this is a part of the allegorical story of King Puranjana, which Narada Muni related to King Prachinibarhi in Srimad Bhagavatam, so that he might be induced to give up the family life within material existence. See, Puranjani was Puranjana in previous life. And the Brahmana who is talking to her is actually known as Avigyata. Avigyata means the unknown one. See, in the fourth canto, 26th and 27th chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that wherever Puranjana went, he had a good friend who always accompanying him, and this good friend is Avigyata. Avigyata was a well-wisher and the unseen guest in his house. He was always a silent witness to everything and wherever Puranjana went. See, Avigyata also always followed him. When Puranjana went to enjoy sense gratification in all the different gates of our material body, the friend was also following. And Narada Muni advised King Parsinabari that Puranjana refers to every one of us. See, we as living entities have a name in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are known as Puranjana. The word Puranjana means one who enjoys in a body. See, every living entity is actually trying to seek sense gratification in this middle world. And by doing so, he's actually becoming more bewildered. He's suffering more. Right? So much of suffering. He has forgotten that he is not a material product. And he's forgotten that he's actually a spiritual product. Avigyata is Krishna, the super soul. He's always in the heart. See, Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, they compare the soul and the super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. What's the birds? The individual soul is eating the fruit of the tree. And according to the fruit's content, quality, and whether it is ripe or not, he suffers the reaction or enjoys the fruit. The other bird, Krishna, Paramatma, is simply watching his friend and is not eating the fruits. So Prabhupada writes, so that way, very often, even the happiness that the bird has when he eats the fruits has to end when the fruit is finished, eaten. Because after that, there is no fruit. But the other bird is neither happy nor sorrowful. Why? Because it is not eating the fruits. It is eternally peaceful. So Prabhupada says that Krishna's quality is that he is self-sufficient. He is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 6:9-22. Avisvitam tam paripurna kamam sveneva labhena samam prashantam. Free from all mental conceptions of existence and never wonderstruck by anything. The Lord is always jubilant and fully satisfied by his own spiritual perfection. Now, because the Lord is fully satisfied, he is not touched by the material world. So we are like the other bird which enjoys the fruit because we are never satisfied. We think that we can gain satisfaction by touching the objects of material desires, that is the fruits. My Guru Maharaj used to say, it is like traveling in a bus. See, if you do not drink water, you do not have to worry about using the toilet when you're traveling the bus, right? If you eat and drink, you have to find the toilet. Very difficult to find toilet while going the bus. Very practical point. That's why he used to say that I do not eat or drink anything when I'm traveling. I am very peaceful. You're sitting next to me, but you're like the bird that is always eating the fruit. And thus you're always asking, where is the toilet? Where is it? And he said, I am like the super soul. I am fasting. I'm not eating or drinking. It looks like I am suffering, but practically speaking, I'm peaceful. You think that I suffer if I do not eat. Actually, we do not suffer. So this is our condition. So to remember the position of the soul and super soul, you have to just think of this traveling the bus, right? Before going. See, that the day that eating bird, that is the individual soul, turns its face towards the watching bird, that is the super soul, that day he becomes peaceful. By turning its face towards the super soul, he is asking, please give me directions. I want to be directed. So by doing that, his heart becomes cleansed just by turning to take the darshan of the super soul. So this turning to the super soul is known as consultation. We do so much consultation. This is consultation. Very important. Prabhupada writes in 4:20-52, the Lord can reside within the heart and he can also come out before a person and give him instructions. Thus, the spiritual master is not different from the super soul sitting within the heart. An uncontaminated soul or living entity can get a chance to meet the Paramatma face to face. Just as one gets a chance to consult with the Paramatma within the heart, one also gets a chance to see him actually situated before him. Then one can take instructions from the super soul directly. That is the spiritual master. So this is the duty of the pure devotee, to see the bona fide spiritual master and consult with the super soul within the heart. So Prabhupada writes that consultation with the super soul can actually take place because it is actually our duty to consult the super soul. So consulting as bona fide spiritual means consulting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should take shelter of such a bona fide spiritual master. See, success in life means accepting a spiritual master who knows Krishna as the only supreme beloved personality. One should worship such a confidential devotee of the Lord. See, once Prabhupada was asked this question, Prabhupada, you have said very often, Guru is as good as God. So if you are God, then can you tell me what I am thinking now? Now, Prabhupada said very nicely, if Krishna wants me to know, I can know everything about you. See, if Krishna wants me to. So Guru has so much qualification because even though, factually speaking, he is as good as God, he never feels that way. He always feels that he is a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasan of the Dasan. So, but the soul sitting next to the super soul, that is the individual soul, is sitting, he is feeling that he is God. He is thinking that he is the king of the house. Then when that happens, eventually super soul's voice becomes silent. Super soul stops speaking. See, the super soul is actually Krishna. And he's actually the Guru. He's always telling you that you must perform the right action, the right duty, which is devotional service. So every time we perform an action which is not in line with Krishna, does not our conscience speak to us? We know in our heart we have broken the rule. So when you are doing something that does not please the devotees and Krishna and Guru, we know it. So if we continue to ignore the statements in the heart, eventually super soul will become silent. It will not give you any directions. So Avigyata proved that point. So from the 25th to 27th chapter in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, Avigyata kept quiet because Puranjana wanted to enjoy. But when Puranjana came to his senses as Puranjini, then Avigyata did not become silent. Why? Because her heart had become purified by service to her husband, who is her Guru. So at the time of death, King Puranjana was thinking of his wife. And this is called polluted consciousness. Krishna says in 15.7, Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. So the living entities in the conditioned world are my internal fragmented parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entity is, after all, part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit Krishna, right? So Krishna's constitutional position and the living entity's constitutional position are the same qualitatively. Only difference is that living entity is eternally atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. So in this mental world of conditioned life, the fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord, that is individual soul, is struggling due to his contaminated mind and consciousness. So as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the living entity is supposed to think of Krishna. So here we see that Puranjana, the living entity, is thinking of a woman. So such mental absorption with some sense objects brings about the living entity struggle for existence in this middle world, right? So since King Puranjana is thinking of his wife, the struggle for existence in the middle world will not be ended by death. King Puranjana had to accept the body of a woman in the next life due to his being overly absorbed in the thoughts of his wife. So the mental absorption in social, political, national, communal, so many consciousness is a cause of bondage. So during one's lifetime, one has to change his activities in order to attain the release from bondage. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yajnata karmano yanyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If we do not change our consciousness in this life, whatever we do in the name of social, political, religious, or communal, or national welfare, it will be cause of our bondage. This means we have to continue in material condition life. So as explained in 15.7, Manashasthani Indriyani Prakritisthani Kashati. When the mind and senses are engaged in mental activities, one has to continue his mental existence and struggle to attain happiness. So in each and every life, one is engaged in the struggle to become happy. Actually, no one in this mental world is happy. But the struggle gives a false sense of happiness. A person must work very hard. And when he attains the result of his hard work, he thinks himself happy. In the mental world, people do not know what real happiness is. 6.21. Real happiness must be appreciated by one's transcendental senses. Unless one is purified, the transcendental senses are not manifest. Therefore, to purify the senses, one must take to Krishna consciousness and engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Then there will be real happiness and liberation. That's why 15.8 Bhagavad Gita. Sharire medvapnoti yachapyutka utkramat ishwaram great vaitani samyati vairgandhani vashayat. What a very beautiful statement. Just hear carefully. The living entity in the middle world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. If the wind passes over a garden of roses, it will carry the aroma of roses. And if it passes over a filthy place, it will carry the stench of obnoxious things. Similarly, King Puranjana, the living entity, now passes the air of his life over his wife, a woman. Therefore, he has to accept the body of a woman in his next life. So Prabhupada, in one of his lectures, he says, nowadays, women have, they have to be trained up. Now, women is not trained up to become a chaste wife. That is the defect of this civilization. See, formerly, woman was trained to remain faithful to her husband. Nari Rupam Pati Vrataha. Woman's beauty is how she is faithful to her husband. That's all. That is beauty, not personal beauty. When he says Vidya Rupam Kuru Panam, a black man or ugly man, if he is educated, that is his beauty. Kukilanam Soro Rupam. Kokila, the cuckoo. It is just like a crow. But everyone likes because his voice is so sweet. So he says Kokilanam Soro Rupam, Vidya Rupam Kuru Panam, Nari Rupam Pati Vratam. So there's a lot of, it's a list. These are the beauty. If a woman is trained up not to talk to with any other man except her husband, that is her beauty. That enhances the beauty and prestige. This is Vedic knowledge. So in material consciousness, we are trying to love that which is not at all lovable. We give our love to cats and dogs, running the risk that at the time of death, we may think of them and consequently take birth in a family of cats and dogs. So our consciousness at the time of death determines our next life. That is one reason why Vedic scriptures stress the chastity of women. If a woman is very much attached to her husband at the time of death, she will think of him. Next life, she will be promoted to a man's body. Generally, a man's life is better than a woman's because a man is usually has a better facilities for understanding the spiritual science. But Krishna consciousness is so nice that it makes no distinction between man and woman. In Bhagavad Gita 9.32, Krishna says, anyone who takes shelter of me, whether a woman, Shudra, Vaishya, or anyone else of low birth, is sure to achieve my association. That is Krishna's guarantee. That's why in 9.13.47 purport, Prabhupada says, in the middle world, unless women are trained to be chaste and faithful to their husbands, there cannot be peace or prosperity in society. There are more things to be shared, but just share one thing before I. So Prabhupada says in purport of 6.18.41, the Krishna conscious movement is so beneficial that can be very easily contract the contamination of material nature, which results from one's possessing a material body. So Bhagavad Gita therefore teaches in the very beginning that whether one is a man or a woman, one must know that he or she is not the body but a spiritual soul. Everyone should be interested in the activities of spiritual soul, not the body. As long as one is activated by the bodily conception of life, there is always the danger of being misled, whether one is a man or a woman. The soul is sometimes described as Purusha, because whether one is dressed as a man or woman, one is inclined to enjoy this material world. One who has this spirit of enjoyment is described as a Purusha. So whether Prabhupada says whether one is a man or woman, he's not interested in serving others. Everyone is interested in satisfying his or her own senses. Krishna consciousness, however, provides first-class training for a man or a woman. A man should be trained to be a first-class devotee of Lord Krishna, and a woman should be trained to be a very chaste follower of her husband. That will make the lives of both of them happy. And the risk of the next life, first of all, you should not have a next life at all. Please go back home, back to God in this life itself. That's why this prayer by the living entity in the womb of the mother is so wonderful. How is struggling to get out of this? He's praying to the super soul within the heart. Please let me out. Right? But he forgot, and we are suffering day, birth, death, old age. Because the cycle of birth and death is going on and on. We should stop it. Our prayer should be, I should not get into the womb of another mother in my next life at all. Go back home, back to God. That's why take to Krishna consciousness. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Vinandra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you for this. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. It's very powerful. It's topic
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, welcome, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Lot of instructions for the mothers and to general public also today.
Yes, Prabhu, very powerful topic, very strong. That's why in the beginning I told, this is not what you want to hear, is what you must hear. Because it's a
Yes,
very good example, right? If you want thinking like that, the next time again you have to suffer, right? So why should you
yes.
go take that? So, but the solution is there. Prabhupada is given. Take to Krishna consciousness. If husband and wife, they mutually take to Krishna consciousness, then there is nothing to worry. Whether it be a man or next wife and next wife, that also we don't know. So better to go back to what in this section, right? This is very important. Thank you,
But
Prabhu.
Prabhuji, now in this right now in this age, all the parents are bringing their, especially the kids, a girl child as to be independent.
Yes.
In this right now in this age, they're showing be independent, do work nicely, be open. It's like that.
Yeah. It's already it is totally against the Vedic instructions.
Yes,
Totally.
yes, totally.
Absolutely, very much. Because more they are independent, the more difficult. Because actually, as per the Vedic system, the woman should be first initially protected by a father, after the marriage by the husband, and after the passing away, the son. That is the Vedic tradition. She should always be under protection. Otherwise, there's a total chaos in the civilization. That's what is happening. We can see very well outside, right? In fact, there is one, I think, one lecture or thing of Prabhupada, which maybe you can go through. I can just share that if it's possible. Yeah, actually, it's in Prabhupada Leela Amrita 2.46, I think, for 46th chapter. He's giving preaching to America. You can go through that. So many of your questions will be answered in that one. Why the independence of women is not. Because you can see he was giving to people in America. They're all totally independent, open, and all those things, right? So he was giving why. So one journalist was asking so many questions, and Prabhupada was giving answers. They're very powerful answers, and I think I did not have time to discuss about. Maybe you can go through that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody, anything else if you want to share or any questions, you can go ahead. Other you can stop here. Swayam Prabhu Mataji, Shanta Govinda Prabhu, Pratibha Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, the examples you gave on which is that our sense gratification, it was very nice. And later
Yeah,
you said that women should not talk to men. But in this present generation, we have to talk to them, right? At least greeting them and general talks.
No, you're misunderstanding. Not that. Talking definitely is fine. Getting attached in the other sense, like getting attached, just to attach to your husband, then you start getting into another person. You get in love with all, and then speaking like that. As far as possible, in the Vedic instruction, even talking to a man in the secluded place and all, or a woman, that's also not recommended. Because mind is rascal. You can go there anyway, right? To each person. So that's why the scriptures are very, very perfect in their instructions. You just follow them, no? Definitely will be. That's why Krishna consciousness is very, very powerful. And just we are by taking Krishna consciousness, we are in the higher taste, no? Then naturally we will be talking to them to take up Krishna consciousness, not anything else other than Krishna. That's important part. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Very nice. Very nicely explained, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhu. Hare Krishna.
It was a new message for us that women birth is little lower compared to the male. I was not aware of this. And in the end, thinking of your husband, we may get a male body or vice versa. So that was the new information for me, which I was not aware of. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Nothing else. I'll stop here. Thank you, Prabhu Mataji. Hare Krishna. Mancha kalpadurvich kripa sindhu Patidanam pavani Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.